Most people think they have a motivation problem. They say they can't stay consistent. They start strong, then fade. They blame discipline. They blame laziness. They blame themselves. But here's the truth most people never hear. You're not unmotivated. You're just lost. And that changes everything. When you don't know where you're going, every step feels heavier than it should. Not because the work is too hard, but because your effort has no direction. You wake up tired, not physically tired, mentally tired. And the strange part is, nothing is technically wrong. You're doing what you're supposed to do. You show up, you try, you don't quit immediately. But something feels off. You feel busy, but not satisfied. You feel tired, but not accomplished. And you start to wonder what's wrong with you. Nothing is. You're just spending energy without knowing where it's supposed to go. You haven't even started the day and you already feel drained, not because you did too much yesterday, but because you don't know why you're doing any of it. This is where people get stuck. They keep asking the wrong question. They ask, how do I stay motivated? How do I push myself harder? How do I stop procrastinating? But motivation isn't the starting point. Direction is. Think about it. When you know exactly where you're going, you don't need motivation reminders. You don't need hype. You don't need constant inspiration. You just move. But when direction is missing, even small tasks feel overwhelming. You hesitate. You overthink. You delay. Not because you're weak, but because effort without meaning drains you. This is why motivation never lasts. People try to generate motivation first, hoping direction will magically appear later. It doesn't work that way. Motivation is a response, not a requirement. It responds to clarity. Let's break this down simply. Direction gives effort meaning. Meaning creates clarity. Clarity creates momentum. And momentum is what people call motivation, not the other way around. This is also why discipline alone doesn't save you. Discipline without direction feels like punishment. This is why discipline alone never works for long. At first, you can force yourself. You can push. You can rely on willpower. But willpower is a short-term fuel. Without direction, every routine starts to feel pointless. You wake up and think, what am I even doing this for? And once that question appears, motivation doesn't fade slowly. It collapses. You force yourself to work. You force routines. You force habits. But deep down, you're resisting because you're asking yourself to suffer without knowing what you're suffering for. And the mind always rebels against meaningless effort. Here's something no one tells you. You don't need a perfect plan. You don't need certainty. You don't need confidence. You need a direction. Even a rough one. Even an imperfect one. Even one that might change later. Because movement creates information. Once you start moving, things become clearer. You learn what fits. You learn what doesn't. But when you stay still, waiting for clarity to arrive first, it never does. Clarity is built while moving, not before. This is why waiting to feel ready is so dangerous. Feeling ready is a luxury. Most progress starts with uncertainty. Most growth starts with doubt. And most people stay stuck because they refuse to move until everything feels safe. Comfort doesn't mean alignment. Comfort often means avoidance. You stay busy, but not challenged. You stay comfortable, but not fulfilled. You mistake motion for progress, because at least motion feels productive. But without direction, it's just movement in place. So stop asking how to stay motivated. That question keeps you trapped. Start asking a different one. Where am I going? Not 5 years from now, not the perfect future, just the next direction that feels honest. It could be a skill you want to build, a habit you want to commit to, a version of yourself you respect more. It doesn't have to be impressive. It has to be intentional. Once you decide where you're going, everything changes. Effort feels lighter. Resistance weakens. Momentum builds naturally. Not because life gets easier, but because your actions finally make sense. This is the shift most people never make. They keep chasing motivation when they really need direction. And that's why they stay stuck. Not because they lack discipline, not because they're lazy, but because they're lost. Most people don't fail because they quit. They fail because they never choose. They keep their options open. They wait. They hesitate. They want the perfect plan, the perfect feeling, the perfect moment. But clarity doesn't come from thinking longer. It comes from committing, even imperfectly, even temporarily. Direction isn't a prison. It's a filter. It removes noise. It removes hesitation. It tells your mind what matters and what doesn't. So if this video resonated with you, don't look for more motivation. Look for clarity. Choose a direction, even if it's not perfect yet. Because once you know where you're going, moving forward becomes easier than standing still.